President. And we're going to start with a little remembrance of President Myers' 50 passed last Thursday. I'm going to read her obituary, and then we're going to have a moment of silence. We'll wait for everybody to sit down there.
Thank you.
Is everybody on Myra?
Yes.
So it's a sad thing. So me as acting VP, I'm going to go ahead and run the meeting tonight and everything. And I'll start out by reading her obituary. Thanks, Pete. Myron D. Smith, a fearless, inspiring spirit of Myron D. Smith will live on in all she touched. She passed from this world on April 9, 2015, due to a rare sarcoma. Myron was born in Kingsville, Texas in 1960 and grew up in Corpus Christi, Texas among a loving family. To become an enthusiastic marcher in the Badland Duck Band and a star of the first girls basketball team at Roy Miller High School. In her first 3 years of college, she was awarded full basketball scholarship to play for the Amarillo College Lady Badgers and then the University of Missouri Tigers. For her senior year, she transferred to Oklahoma State University and earned a BBA in finance in 1983. She moved to Houston and worked for a nationwide real estate investment company, earned her real estate license and worked as a property manager before moving to Austin in 1992, where she resumed working as a property manager. Myron worked in residential sales and property management with Capital Area Realty from 1996 to 2015. Myron served as president of the Dawson Neighborhood Association, as a commissioner of the Community Development Commission, and a commissioner of the Planning Commission. Myron did an awful lot for the neighborhood, for sure, for a long time. Everyone knows that she was an advocate of the Houston Rockets. She had a unique bond with animals, including dogs, cats, turtles, koi, and birds. Myron was a connector who brought people together and helped improve lives. That goes to show in Dawson neighborhood she did an awful lot of getting here. Myron danced, laughed, kissed, hugged, garden, swam, traveled, cycled, and hiked with the love of her life, Rebecca Scheller. There for 25 years. Myron was preceded in death by siblings May Francis Smith McDonald, Timothy W. Smith, Patrick Ann Smith, Emma Ruth Smith, Douglas. She will be dearly missed by her devoted parents, Van Buren Jr. and Elizabeth Smith of Corpus Christi. Her siblings Loretta A. Jackeries, Van Buren Smith III, and Keith A. Smith, all of Corpus Christi, and Vanessa Matthew of Pflugerville. She will be remembered for her beautiful smile and eternal optimism. And the service is already held, but we can have a moment of silence for Myron, and then we'll continue on with the meeting. Oh, I'm sorry. The memorial service will be held at United at our Community Church in Austin at 9 a.m. May 2nd of this year. A celebration of Myron's life will take place in the afternoon of the same day. Memorial donations can be made to Texas Oncology or MD Anderson Cancer Center. So we appreciate any help like that anybody that we can help anyone like that. So now we'll have a moment of silence. Okay, thanks a lot. Myron will be remembered. Next, our first guest is Councilmember Pio Madrid. He's a father, community activist, and a lifetime citizen of Austin's District 3. At a very young age, he learned lessons of hard work and serving others. At age 7, he was shining shoes and selling newspapers on Congress Avenue, and at 15, he entered the field to pick cotton to help support his family. Pio went on to retire from IBM after 34 years of service as a computer and printer technician. He has served on the East Austin Neighborhood Center Advisory Board, the AD Can-Too Can-Am Recreation Center Advisory Board, the Environmental Board, and participated for 14 years on the Community Development Commission, 8 years as a chair. He was the leader of the United East Austin Coalition, Friends of the MACC, EC the Chavez Neighborhood Planning Team, the Vice Chair, and volunteered with Sanchez, Martin, and Austin High, ETAs, and CACs. He is now a member of the Austin City Council, proudly representing District 3, which is Dawson's district. So everybody, please welcome me. On that. Okay. You guys, if anyone has any questions about anything, we've got, Peter's got a list that anybody wants to fill out, and then we'll collect it at the end of the meeting.
You may have towards the end, so...
Maybe after the end, so if anybody has any questions,
I just thought there'd be hundreds of questions.
just get with Peter, and we'll go from there. Thanks. Thank you, Peter.
Before I start, I knew Myron. We started together in the Community Development Commission, and we do real close. And I always really admired her talent. She just had a way with people that you just wanted to be near her, and she was just so smart. And I was just looking forward to come to this meeting because I saw her name on your newsletter, and I was hoping to see her, but I didn't realize that. I didn't know that she had passed away, but I know that she really was loved and respected. So anyway, my name is Sabino Pioliti, and I'm a native Austinite, and I served 14 years in the Community Development Commission, and we've had a couple of meetings here during the time that I served. We rotate, so I'm really familiar with this location. When I ran for City Council, I made a commitment that I was going to serve and work with the contact team. And I really feel good when I come into a meeting where the contact team, and I see as many people here. There's some groups that they're just like two people that call themselves contact team and say they represent their area, especially some of the smaller east side boxes. And I really feel that you have to be very inclusive. You have to be able to bring in everybody, and regardless of whether we disagree or agree. We always, and I make it a habit of my contact team here at Seven Top, is that when we leave, we're all still friends and we still respect each other. And I took that into the City Council also. I might not agree with my colleagues. I know there's some that are from the extreme right, and there's some that, are free to the left side, but, we can vote and like, I don't win all the time, but, I still respect the people when they come before me. I have no real feelings against anyone. I just listen to their reason. I feel like if their heart is into the community and respect for the community, then they're going to gain my support, because I'm a neighborhood person, and I really want to see Austin where everyone gets the opportunity to go ahead and not have some big money person come in and try to tell us what to do. But besides that, I also want to announce that I'm looking for people to serve on the boards and commissions. We have a lot of openings, and they're very important. These committees are the ones that make the recommendations to make decisions. And without them, we would have to, rely on just the lobbyists that come and lobby us constantly. They're always there. I meet with them, constantly every week. But I also enjoy when community people come and talk to me and tell me about their issues, because I want to know all the your information that it gives you a ability to write in, you know, what you want to serve on, but also say, hey, I'm from Dawson, or the contact me. Right now, you know, anyone can apply, but I want to fill my positions on the board and commission, but with people that live in my district, because they're the ones that are getting the impact. So when y'all do fill out for apply for boards and commission, if you would just say, I'm from the contact me.
How does everybody apply for that?
You go on the City of Boston website, you get one of the headings say board and commission, and there it will tell you, you know, it'll say, do you want to fill out a form? When you apply, you can put your name, and then it'll give you all the options of which board you want to serve, and you just check each box. Don't be afraid, because we have so many people that are applying that you just go on down the line, any commission or board that you feel comfortable about serving, just check it out, check on it, and we'll go down the list. And I have a list right now of boards, and there's very few people that I agreed to report their names, but as you can see, you might not be able to see, but there's a lot of openings that I still have. And I'm definitely looking for people to serve on the Planning Commission, the Board of Adjustment, the board, and what's the other one? The Land and Planning. Those are very important. Those are the kind of commissions that actually make decisions that's going to be affecting all our neighborhood, especially the Board of Adjustment. I have never been very happy with the people that have served on the Board of Adjustment, because I think that they've given them too much adjustments, room for variance that shouldn't be, you know. But those are the kind of committees that I think boards are very important in, and I want to fill it with people that are really concerned about the neighborhood.
What kind of time frame for everybody to
Okay, you don't have to start serving until June. I'm going to start appointing here in the next 2 weeks, and we have all of May, but we really want to have it filled in.
So if everybody's interested, probably go ahead and fill it out the next week or two. If you're interested. Right?
Yeah, I kind of held back. There are some other council people that are already filling their positions up, but I want to make sure that I select people that are going to be good enough for me. I don't want to lobby as a developer or anything. I want to make sure that they look at people. Yeah, that's what I want. And I'll take any questions.
Yeah. I've got a list of them. Yeah, please.
What is it, a question or?
No, she's going to stand up and say her question, just so we get an order to it.
And I'm going to leave my cards here in the front, so, yeah. And I have something with my policy aids too.
So cards are up here, and that's the rest of it. Cam, up first for the question?
Well, I just wanted to ask you about how accessible are you to your constituents? Because I'm not happy with the changes that have been made and are being made at Auditorium Shores. And those were made by the previous city council and the previous parks board. And so I'd like to talk to you or your staff about that. Not necessarily, not tonight, I don't want to bring up the whole issue, but I'd like to talk to you about that. So I'm just wondering how do I go about that?
You can send me an email or call my office to set up a meeting. And we're normally booked up for about a week ahead of time, but it's probably going to take about a week and a half. But we can set up a meeting in my office. You can send an email. And I know Kathy told us also our Basically, she's the one that has the most experience about, because she served term before her. So she is very active and very informative of the past, what they've done. And I don't know if she was on the losing side of the boat for what's going on. But yeah, we can just call our office, email us, and just leave your concerns or come talk to me about it.
Okay, thank you.
Ronnie?
Well, bienvenidos a South Dawson. My name is Ronnie Limon, and I welcome South Dawson. I've been in this neighborhood since 1958. And I just want to know what kind of steps can I go through. I have an alley behind my house that's still dirt. And when it rains and all that, it washes into the streets. So I see Travis Heights and other alleys that have been paved. And I was wondering what kind of process can I go through that alley thing, because all the dust it creates.
If we'll definitely inquire. Can you give Nick your address and what have you, or email us that? And people have complained to me about their street. One of the rougher streets that we had was in Comal Street between 5th and 2nd, and they just had potholes and everything. So all I did was when I got elected, I called my city manager and said, hey, people are really upset about the way this street is. They came and paved it. So, now you probably hear, I don't know about how they treat alleys. I know they scrape it, but I don't know if but we'll look into it and we'll send that information back.
Jerome?
I don't really have a question, but I just want to tell everyone here, I like the PO. I was on the Community Development Commission with PO, with Myron. And when he's saying he wants to get people on these boards, he's serious. And it's a very interesting thing to do. They've got all sorts of city boards when you look there. And it really gives you a different perspective on how things work, because you really see on some of these, here's how the money goes, and it's not so simple, and you hear the other side of things. But, he and his wife, their planning team and the Dawson planning team were the first two in the city, so we learned a lot of stuff together and had a lot of experience together, and I think he's going to be very supportive of neighborhoods, but on the other hand, some of us need to do that volunteer and get on those boards, because, once something goes through a board or a commission, that there's a tendency in council to go with it. So, you can get a lot of influence and get things heard, and that's a very good opportunity for people to do. And, but, it's some commitment of time. You got to be serious about it. And they'll pretty much tell you for each board, it varies. But, you're not going to drop in and fix things magically. But it's a good learning opportunity. And, I just want to iterate that I'm sure PO is very serious about wanting to get people that are involved in neighborhoods on those boards to help shift some of the things that a lot of us disagree with. And so I'm just urging you to do it. My problem is we're gone several months of the year, and you really need to be able to be in attendance. And also I did my time, but it was fun. But I think everybody can learn stuff by doing that, and it's a lot more useful to get on something and do it than to just sit around and complain about it. So, amen.
Okay. Also want to let y'all know that because of the new structure that we have, because we set up 10 different committees, and the beautiful thing about committees is that when we used to serve on commissions, like especially the CDC, we worked, sometimes a whole year, not months and months, getting information and feedback from our constituents out there. And what we made our recommendation, and then you say, what happened to our recommendation? Nothing happened. And you get so frustrated. Well, the beauty of these committees now is that the chair of the committee, through the consensus of all the board, can actually go and submit the resolutions directly or report directly to the committee that's under, like if I was under, I'm chair of the housing and neighborhood planning, they can submit the resolutions directly to our committee instead of waiting for the city staff to bring it to us, because they'll bring their own version, not the version of what a lot of the time they'll bring a different report than what y'all would report to us. And what a, you know, we'd have seen it, but now you can directly go to the committee, the council, and they would have to set up a hearing so that people can comment on it. So that's the real beauty of the committee structure that we have, is that now you know that if you don't agree with the staff and their recommendations, you can come directly to us. And that's why it's really important now to really join these commissions and boards, because now y'all have the committee, the neighborhood, the people have a voice, and bringing that directly to us.
Peter? Next question.
So I have two questions really, and the first one is, you and a lot of other council people are very new to what goes on in council. So can you tell us about the joining together of the council members and what you've been doing to change things so far? What has been your experience so far in this meeting of councils?
Because there's a group of new council people with the...
Well, it's been a long, tiring process so far, because, you know, the mayor came out with he called it first deep dive. And basically it was a training session for all the members, and we spent hours. We had besides the council meetings, we had 8 hours a day of policy meetings. So, and we're still not through with them. We still have one more month. And then we still have to have our committee meetings, and then we have our city council meetings. So basically what it really has done is that we have learned a lot, but at the same time, it has cut back on the meeting time with our constituents in our district, because we're constantly in a meeting room. So now we only have like a Friday that's available to meet with as many people as can. And it's like every 30 minutes, every hour, there's a group coming in and we're meeting with them. So, but it's great because, you know, we learn a lot that way. You know, if any of y'all seen us in the meeting, we pulled a lot of items, even items that it would have been just passed easily by the past council, because everybody wanted to know how we're spending the money, where is it going. So it's been a long process, but now we're getting to that point where we can see the light at the end of the tunnel, and now we're going to be able to, you know, fight. But we haven't had a meeting that gone past 12 o'clock at night, and we set up where we took all our zoning cases and we meet once a month on our zoning, so they won't extend the meetings very long, so people can come and when we're having our council meeting and guarantee that you're not going to be there past 10 o'clock almost. I mean, I haven't gone, but the longest one, we did one at 11:30, that was the longest, and the other one was at like 10 o'clock, and all the rest of them have been over by 7:30 or 9 o'clock, so it gives people a chance to go home, you know, relax and eat and all that, and knowing that they're not going to be there till 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning. So we get to hear all the people that show up on these, you know, and their concerns. So that is a real nice thing about what we've done, and I really enjoy it. But yeah, it's been meetings after meetings after meetings, but I think after next month we won't have any of those kind of meetings.
Steve, I have a second.
Yeah, go ahead, Peter.
So your area, if anybody doesn't know, covers from East 7th Street.
It's 7th Street to the north,
Yeah.
the frontage road of 35 to Airport to the frontage road at 35. We cross over where Woodward's at, we take actually St. Edward all the way to Congress. We head north to Otor to the railroad track, up the railroad track to Saxony, to the frontage road at 35, down to Ken White. So, there was a lot of walking.
So in that area, are there common issues that you are going to address? Have you identified
The real common issues that we have are basically from Ben White north, from the railroad tracks. Basically, it's that area and East Austin, 7th, including oil, but the gentrification is just, I was so amazed. I thought it was just an East Austin problem, but when I walked the Dawson, Galindo area and seeing how people are buying these beautiful homes, you know, they might be 40 years old, but they're beautiful, well-built, and tearing them down and building these huge units on them. I'm like, God, how did this happen over here? You know, I know we were thinking about renters on our side, you know, and that was key for them to come in. But I've seen the development that's going on that area, and I'm going, wow, you know, this is really fun. It was an eye-opening for me.
And we got one more question. Time constraints. Greg?
Sure. More of a comment. That kind of related to what Peter was saying before. I was with Austin Habitat for Humanity building a beautiful neighborhood. I was policy director for American Potential for the last 5 years. And this gentleman is not an experience. He was in our office all the time. Honestly, we were calling him for input on a lot of policy issues. We're very happy to have him serve.
Thanks for coming. Everybody give Theo a hand. We appreciate it. Thank you very much. Got this card right here too. People, this is your chance right here. You put this in your lap. So, you know, if you want a platform to hear your voice heard, right there. No more excuses or whatever. Get on a board if you want. Get with them and make something happen if you want it to happen. Our next guest number 2. Is from the SERP program. His name is Flores. Everybody give Angel a hand, please.
So I had a presentation for y'all today. I'm going to be able to show it. I'm more disappointed. But basically, can y'all hear me okay?
No.
So I'm from Thank you. I'm from the Austin Office of Homeland Security and Emergency Management. Not to be confused with the Federal Office of Homeland Security. We're a different entity, not related to them at all. Basically, what we do is we help prepare the community for emergencies and disasters. So, show of hands, how many people here think we're prepared for an emergency? Not very many. Recent studies show that about 42% of Americans are prepared. So that's about half, not a lot. What we like to do is do outreach to help people prepare for emergencies, what they should do, what they shouldn't do. Top 3 emergencies in the city of Austin are disasters related. Does anybody want to guess what the number 1 threat to Austin is?
Flooding.
Sounds good. So where do I from here? Floods are the number 1 threat. Anybody want to know the number 1 way people die? Or does anybody know the number 1 way people die?
Water crossing.
Yes, they drive through low water crossings, which is illegal. Y'all remember recently Jessica Hollis recently lost her life when she was on duty, and she was an experienced swimmer, so it's very critical that if you see a barricade, you turn around and not drown. Second hazard is wildfires. How long has it been since the Bachelor fire? 3 years. Yeah. So that's the number 2 threat to the city of Austin and its residents. They did a study after that incident, and they found that more than half of Austin communities are built around fire-prone areas. So if you go to FEMA's website, FEMA.gov, they have a lot of ideas high winds to hail to thunder to lightning. Does anybody know how high winds can cause damage? Yes. Trees go down, power lines go down, people get electrocuted. So very dangerous. So this is the top three: flooding, wildfires, and severe weather. Our office, what we do, like I said, is we do outreach to help educate the public, both in English and Spanish, on how to prevent themselves from being completely devastated by emergencies. I'm going to leave my card with you all. If you all want to contact me, our website is also on there as well. Whenever a disaster does hit, we're always going to be on Twitter. My pager will go off, whether it's 7 p.m. or 2 a.m., and I'll be calling to work, and we'll be tweeting day or night based on what's going on. So you can always go on to our Twitter handle, which is either the City of Austin, which is Austin, Texas Gov, or Austin Keystone, and you can kind of be updated in that way. You can also find updates on our website to kind of where it gives you information on how to be prepared and what to do, and kind of like the up-to-date updates. Lastly, the CERT program, which stands for Community Emergency Response Team Service. It's basically for whenever local public safety officials get overwhelmed in an emergency. The Community Emergency Response Team is a group of community members like yourselves who are trained in first aid, basic rescue, things like that. So we offer 2 classes a year. There are 2 graduating classes a year, and we got 1 class a week. And upon graduation, you receive a certificate and a backpack filled with supplies, and basically an emergency supply kit you can use. So if there is a delay in public safety official response, the CERT team kind of kicks in, and it's usually community organized.
Well, how does everybody get that safety pack emergency matter?
You take a class, and then you graduate at the end of the class. We also have a list on our website that shows you how to build a basic emergency supply kit. It kind of has a list of provisions on there for you all to look at and to be prepared for emergencies. Last. In the event of an emergency, whenever there's something going on in the city, if you want to help, the best way to do so is to log on to the city's website, Austin, Texas Gov, and kind of look for banners to show how you can help. We prefer that you give monetary donations or to donate your time. Oftentimes people will do in an emergency is they'll kind of go in the garages and closets, clean out all the stuff that they didn't get a chance to take into the wheel, and they'll lug it over to wherever the emergency is. And we appreciate the effort and the idea, but that generally creates a secondary emergency where we have to deploy lots of manpower and hours to kind of organize and stuff and disperse it. So it's best if you donate the money and or the time. And I don't know if there are any questions if you all have.
Questions? Website where they can get the information?
Austin Keystone, HSEM.gov.
In the event that does treat a massive power line, you just call 311.
That would be your best bet, yes. Of course, whenever the National Weather Service kind of predicts severe weather, it's best for you to kind of charge all your appliances, your electronics, your iPad, your laptop, everything, so you can kind of have the ability to stay up to date on whatever's going on. And on our website, like I mentioned, we have a supply kit list that you can kind of follow. And if you have the stuff in that kit, generally you can survive, say, 2 or 3 days from home pretty comfortably.
So I think that the last time I saw you, you talked about things you needed to have if there was an emergency.
Sure, I can go down the list real quickly. Canned food, bottled water somewhere in your house. Very important, a lot of people don't think about this, is copies of any documents that you might need in a watertight bag. Very important, because if your house goes up in flames, you can grab that kit on your way out of the house, and it has copies of, say, a house deed, birth certificates, social security cards, things like that. Of course, the originals are better, but nobody's going to keep the originals by the door, so it's best to have copies if you can. Chargers, smoky chargers for your iPhone if the power goes out, iPads, stuff like that, batteries, of course. A NOAA, how many people have a NOAA weather radio? And tank. 5, so those are very helpful in case the power does go out, in case the Wi-Fi goes out. The NOAA weather radio will always be broadcasting information, so it's very important to have that. Medications, thank you. I'll do my tongue. If you or anybody in your family takes medications, have a 7-day supply in your kit at all times. Make sure that they're not expired. Check throughout the year to make sure that they're not expired. But it's very important because a lot of people forget that. And also, if you have pets, we're awesome. We love our pets. Food for your pets, medications for your pets, leashes, bowl, all that good stuff. And spiritual clothes for yourself.
Any other questions?
How could neighborhoods get involved? For example, knowing neighborhood resources, points of meeting, things like that.
Well, this is a great start. I think this is great. Not a lot of neighborhoods have this kind of meeting place, so it's a good start. And it wouldn't be bad if you came down to the CERT classes and took the CERT classes just so that you would have that knowledge base in your community to kick in case the public safety officials are having a hard time getting to everybody. So that's good. And also, just kind of getting to know your neighbors. That's a very important thing because in this day and age, it's very easy to be isolated and not stuff, technology, cell phones, all that good stuff. So get out, get to know your neighbors, introduce yourselves, and just know who you live with. Know who has disabilities because if you have a deaf or blind neighbor, they're not going to know what's going on, possibly get an emergency, stuff like that. But yeah, I think we all have common neighbors great. And if you would like me to get more information on how to be prepared in terms of brochures, towels and stuff, give me a call or send me an email and I'm glad to come out to you.
Is there any possibility that if you had a group in a neighborhood that wanted to be trained, would you all do that, or are there people that would do that?
Right now, our resources are limited, so it is limited to me coming out. So your best bet would be to sign up for a CERT class, and they're always in the evening, so everyone's welcome. And even if you don't look at the class, it's good to have a knowledge base. Because we do understand things come up, life happens. So if you do come to a couple meetings and you know how to respond to CPR or basic water rescue, stuff like that, then it's good.
Anything else? Any other questions? All right, let's give Abel a hand. Hey guys, just make sure that everybody's signed in, didn't get things signed, the new name, our new members, our new first time here, our new. You've been here before for a long time, so everybody grab a survey too for us, please. Grab it, try to get those in we'll get those in the meeting. We got Theo's cards and Angel's cards up here too. Copies of the newsletter right here too, if anybody needs anything.
All right, you busy? Yes. Looks like you're doing some work in your house. Yeah.
Right here.
More or less done-ish, although there's always going to be a little project. Yeah, we just got back from this goes. Barbados. Yeah.
Hey guys, we got serious time constraints.
Hometown? Or
Should we turn around? Okay.
yeah, we had a good time. Double Beach, we were staying at first half of the stayed all day in this one. Yeah, we stayed in some nice places. But Double Beach on the Atlantic side is covered in seaweed, so we didn't know that part of normal. The time of year? Or? No, it's we started having like 3 years ago. Oh, really?
I agree that we accept the draft minutes.
We accept the draft minutes, we accept that.
I have a point of order. I have a point of order before adopting the minutes, Mr. Vice President.
Okay, go ahead.
Well, what I'm concerned about is that neither DNA or DNPCT adopt the agenda as the first step following the call to order. The minutes, of course, that were just referred to are on that agenda, and the agenda is a draft agenda until it's adopted by the attending body at the meeting. So I'd like that corrected. I'd like to begin adopting the agenda.
You're asking one now?
It's one extra step. It's essentially very similar to adopting the minutes, but we should adopt the agenda. Now, we've already had 2 speakers that were on the agenda, and I understand the reasons for that. Well, to let them leave if they need to before we go into business. But I really think we should adopt the agenda before the minutes, because the agenda is in a draft form until it's adopted.
Well, I think that's something that's going to happen. Is that something that needs to be voted on, or is it something that needs to be approved?
No, it's ordinary parliamentary procedure. It's Robert's rules, and the bylaws do not make an exception to skip that. I mean, those are possibilities, but it is ordinary meeting procedure.
Before the meeting, before the minutes, you want this done, or you want a part of the minutes?
Yeah, it's not personal, what I want. I think it's proper to follow the procedure.
So it depends if you actually call it an agenda.
Or agenda, if you call it an agenda, yeah. Well, I mean, how do we have it on here? We have it as old business, or the minutes, old business, and new business. I mean, I don't even see agenda on here.
Well, the agenda is this text. This is the draft agenda. It needs to be adopted before moving on to any of the items on it, technically. Certainly the approval, also known as adoption of the minutes. Basically, you call to order, you adopt the agenda with discussion and possible amendments, and you adopt the draft minutes with discussion and possible amendments.
So call to order and adopt amendments?
Adopt the agenda.
Yeah.
That would be the first step after the call.
But right now, I think it's something we don't have time for right now. I mean, it's something that's going to have to be brought up, I think, in the next meeting.
It's not really a matter of time. It's something that's as important as, more important than
it's
adopting
something
the
new that we
minutes.
haven't done before, so this is something that you're trying to change, something that we've been doing for quite a while.
I do know that it hasn't been done in the recorded past, and there's no justification for skipping over it.
Unless you call it an agenda. If you call it something else, you don't have to adopt it.
I don't buy that argument, but thanks.
The perfect question here is that if you don't have a simple process of adopting the agenda and someone wants to raise an issue for consideration, what's the process? So Peter is saying that if you don't call it an agenda, then you don't have to consider formally adopting a series of things to consider in a meeting, right?
Yeah.
But if you just sort of pretend that you don't have it, it's written, and you refuse to adopt the agenda, then the question becomes if someone wants to raise a potential item for business, when and how do they do that? And they should be able to raise it before the meeting.
But that's the way.
And not filter it through an officer or something in an email.
Go ahead, Peter.
The agenda items are written down on the order of business, and the order of business says old business, new business, other business. So that is the time to raise your hand and say, I have an item of new business.
So if someone wishes to raise an item under your procedure,
Yeah.
although at times the leadership says that you must adhere strictly to Robert's rules, and I believe that Chad is actually correct when it comes to strict adherence to Robert's rules. Right? So I think that maybe if you have an alternative procedure, in theory, I believe that actually violates the bylaws of the organization. I don't have a problem with your alternative procedure. It should just be laid out and be clear.
So, I mean, is that what everybody wants to do? Now we're going to adopt amendments before the minutes.
Yeah, that's
No, it's less ridiculous than before, because what we have is an agenda that is just adopted before the meeting, which is not proper. It doesn't give the neighbors an opportunity to amend the agenda, which is their right. So this is the agenda, we need to adopt it, and then we can move on to adopting the items on the agenda. It's as basic as that.
So,
Should I make a motion so we can move on?
Yeah.
We adopt this list on the newsletter as our agenda for the DNA meeting.
is that what you're asking, just every time, just to ask if we adopt it?
Well, the officers would lead by saying, similar to how you adopt the minutes, or
Okay.
approve the minutes. Now we are asking to adopt the agenda.
Okay.
It's pretty
So,
simple.
do we adopt the agenda?
I actually have,
There's a motion on the floor, but I can make it.
see, I actually have a potential amendment. Right, that's a good question, because I need to ask the officers what item 5, admin items, breaks down into. Because I'm informed that it actually represents the 6 motions that I've submitted to bring to the floor. And I basically want to know if 5 other business admin items breaks down to my motions.
Actually, that was talking about the survey. The administrative item was to just tell everyone that we had a survey and gather information.
Okay, so it's discussion of the survey that was distributed
Just to
earlier?
tell everyone that it's
Okay. I do think the survey was very well executed, but it isn't authentic to the language and intent of my points. So in amendment of...
You're not writing the survey.
She wrote the survey.
I
It's
was
about your comments.
It's about
Actually, folks who have seen the items that I've been trying to bring for a vote here since last October will recognize them in a faint form inside the survey.
Yes,
But as we stand, you're telling me that my items, the motions that I wish to bring to the floor here are still not on the agenda.
I believe you communicated ahead of the meeting that you were prepared to have them at the next meeting because we have a busy schedule. I would change your mind.
Were they... Problem is the agenda just says other business admin items. Does that or does that not represent?
No, it does
We're
not
prepared,
represent.
but right now, we have 6 minutes to finish up, so.
Okay, so at first, that was our opportunity to talk about your items. You withdrew them because we did explain that we have a busy meeting and we wanted to have some time to discuss them. So after further discussion amongst the board, we thought, well, perhaps we should gather information via the survey with some of your ideas included, not necessarily in your language, but if you recall, your items are rather lengthy, and we wanted to have it on 2 pieces of paper with room for people to write, and so there was some
Instead
distillation.
of not being able to get to this, we figured that we'd do a survey to where people could at least be able to see this. So I think you're getting, they're starting to see a little bit of what you want, but not getting to it.
We had objections, one, what you just said was that your approach to the agenda items that he proposed was to produce a survey and not to place them on an agenda or really discuss them. So Chad has reason to be perhaps a bit annoyed at being co-opted by a process that was decided by the leadership without any sort of input. So,
Well, yeah, I think a survey is a pretty good way of input.
this kind of goes back to the original question, which was, what is the procedure for raising and dealing with an item and dispensing with it so that we can get past
ignored since last October.
Print it up and bring it next
It's been ignored since last October. When he says to work on, he does mean the DNA and DNPCT. He means that they've observed me putting an online copy of the proposals, the application that I want to bring proposals to vote here for you all to know about and consider.
Well, Chad, can
So-
I ask you in October if you want to look at the agenda before we get basically. So,
That was an unfortunate email exchange, but you were I reserve an opportunity to answer to that. You were then, as you are now, an officer of DMPCT, not DNA. And at that time, I had only DNA items that I wished to be brought to a vote. You were very enthusiastic about acquiring those items, but you were not the proper officer to submit them to. I said that very plainly. And I apologize that the exchange was not more productive. But respectfully, I want to submit the information to the right party, which would be Sandy McMillan, who isn't here to
yes, she's away from work.
Yeah, we need to move on, guys.
We have a motion on the floor and that we adopt the agenda as written. Why don't we bring that to a vote?
Well, my question is still in play as to whether...
It doesn't matter, we're out of time, we're going to move on.
It isn't about time, it's about whether the question has been avoided or answered.
Can I just take the floor at the moment?
Who could stop
I
you?
haven't seen, you're speaking, so I needed to stop you speaking so somebody else can speak. So I don't believe we've received these final versions of the motions yet. Can you hand the motions over so we can say we've got the final version? Could you pick those up, take them to the table and hand them over and those are the final versions? Okay? Okay?
Thank you.
Now, I've already been informed that Chad Cosper acquired an earlier draft of these and provided them to you. And that is how part of the language of the survey is so similar to these items. You are aware of them, you have always been aware of them, and you have never acknowledged any times that I've respectfully submitted them.
Or have you got
Hope you come back.
Let's move on.
I'd like to continue the meeting.
Thank you.
I would also like to suggest that we consult Robert's Rules of Order and see exactly in writing, in the book, what we need to do in order to address the situation, because we don't have a copy of Robert's Rules of Order.
It's a major oversight.
It's your word, somebody's word, but I would like to refer to the primary source.
I think that is the most level-headed proposal.
Ken moved that we adopt the agenda as written in the newsletter.
I second it.
We have to vote to adopt the agenda, to approve the agenda.
Those in favor of adopting the agenda, raise your hands, please. Those in disfavor of it? Right. Minutes passed.
No, it's the agenda.
Or the agenda passed, I'm sorry. Now we need the minutes. Motion to move the minutes. Okay, do we approve the minutes, everybody? Everybody in favor of the minutes, raise their hands. Everybody not in favor? here's information on the resurfacing of Havana.
Okay, the Havana Street saga goes on. The resurfacing is going to happen April and later May. And on Sacramento and Fontana, Powell Circle, Havana Street from South First to Powell Circle, and Brynwood Avenue from Havana Street to Coleman Street. But resurfacing of other areas is next year, and that's because they're in the middle of that erosion project and more of the drainage project. So there'll be some Havana Street, some Wilson Street, some Powell Circle, and some Lightsey Road. So they're very well aware that they've been slow in finishing this up, and so they've actually passed some information on there.
When did you say this started?
Stephanie Lott, the PIO officer.
I want watersheds to buy me new shotgun throwers.
And tires, for sure.
Yeah,
Sorry. When did you say this project has started?
6 years ago.
I mean this year? What time, what month the resurfacing is going
The
to begin?
resurfacing will start in April and May.
April, May.
Well, they should have completed it all in May.
Questions about resurfacing? We good? Do we move to adjourn?
What about outdoor music for me?
No.
No, that's
That's all.
that's all.
I mean, this is all we have now,
Yeah.
morning.
You're
Do
going
we
to
move
put the surveys.
Oh, right.
What did I- yeah.
Administrative items. Administrative items are that we're taking a survey to gather information on the use of the neighborhood. There are copies of the area pencils, you can fill them out and return them to the table. Yes?
And you receive what Chad's
We
final
received Chad's,
motions.
right here, Chad's all labeled and data and everything like that.
They're not final. They are still draft. They are, okay. Read Robert's rules. Read Robert's rules. They are draft until the moment that they're spoken aloud by the submitter. Now that's not ridiculous because then you have the period of discussion and potential amendments. But they are draft until the moment that they are spoken aloud on the floor by the submitter. So they're not final, no.
Is it the right number? Have you got the right number of motions, or is there going to be more or less?
There won't be any more.
Eight. What I've got is what I'm looking right here.
Okay, this is DNA, so we're referring to 6 motions. Attached to the lower half of that sheet are the 2 motions, very similar to 2 motions for DNA that are for DMPCT, because they're about agendas and minutes, which both organizations have.
We got it right here, it's documented and labeled.